warmer it has an impact on. If this were to go, sea level worldwide would go up 20 feet. They've measured disturbing changes on the underside of this ice sheet. It's considered relatively more stable, however, than another big body of ice that's roughly the same size. Greenland would also raise sea level almost 20 feet if it went. A friend of mine just brought back some pictures of what's going on in Greenland right now. Dramatic changes. These are the same kinds of pools that formed here on this ice shelf in Antarctica. And the scientists thought that when that water seeped back into the ice, it would just refreeze. But they found out that actually what happens is that it just keeps on going. It tunnels to the bottom and makes the ice like Swiss cheese, or like termites. This shows what happens to the crevasses, and when lakes form, they create what are called moulins. The water goes down to the bottom and it lubricates where the ice meets the bedrock. See these people here at the scale? This is not on the edge of Greenland. This is in the middle of the ice mass. This is a massive rushing torrent of fresh meltwater tunneling straight down through the Greenland ice to the bedrock below. Now, to some extent, there has always been seasonal melting, and moulins have formed in the past, but not like now. In 1992, they measured this amount of melting in Greenland. 10 years later, this is what happened. And here's the melting from 2005. Tony Blair, scientific advisor, has said that because of what's happening in Greenland right now, the maps of the world will have to be redrawn. If Greenland broke up and melted, or if half of Greenland and half of West Antarctica broke up and melted, this is what would happen to the sea level in Florida. This is what would happen to San Francisco Bay. A lot of people live in these areas. The Netherlands, one of the low countries, absolutely devastating. The area around Beijing that's home to tens of millions of people. Even worse, in the area around Shanghai, there are 40 million people. Worse still, Calcutta, and to the east, Bangladesh, the area covered includes 60 million people. Think of the impact of a couple 100,000 refugees when they're displaced by an environmental event. And then imagine the impact of 100 million or more. Here's Manhattan. This is the World Trade Center Memorial Site. And after the horrible events of 9/11, we said never again. But this is what would happen to Manhattan. They can measure this precisely, just as the scientists could predict precisely how much water would breach the levees in New Orleans. The area where the World Trade Center Memorial is to be located would be underwater. Is it possible that we should prepare against other threats besides terrorists? Maybe we should be concerned about other problems as well. $1.3 billion people. An economy that's surging. More and more energy needs. Massive coal reserves. The coal belt.
记得。
Shaanxi province. They're also the biggest coal mine.
Up here. Now, is that an open pit mine?
Yeah.
Every time I've visited China, I've learned from their scientists. They're right on the cutting edge of the numbers of new coal-fired generating plants.
Well, I have to say that the numbers enormous because it's so profitable.
This issue is really the same for China as it is for the U.S. We are both using old technologies that are dirty and polluting. Flooding and more drought and stronger storms is going up, and global warming and the accurate connections from the misunderstandings is part of what you learn here. But when the warnings are accurate and based on sound science, then we as human beings, whatever country we live in, have to find a way to make sure that the warnings are heard and responded to.
We both have a hard time shaking loose the familiar patterns that we relied on in the past. We both face completely unacceptable consequences.
We are witnessing a collision between our civilization and the Earth. And there are three factors that are causing this collision. And the first is population. When my generation, the baby boom generation, was born after World War II, the population had just crossed the 2 billion mark. Now, I'm in my 50s, and it's already gone to almost 6.5 billion. And if I reach the demographic expectation for the baby boomers, it'll go over 9 billion. So if it takes 10,000 generations to reach 2 billion, and then in one human lifetime, ours, it goes from 2 billion to 9 billion, something profoundly different is going on right now. We're putting more pressure on the Earth. Most of it's in the poorer nations of the world. This puts pressure on food demand. It puts pressure on water demand. It puts pressure on vulnerable natural resources, and this pressure is one of the reasons why we have seen all the devastation of the forests, not only tropical but elsewhere. It is a political issue. This is the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. One set of policies here, another set of policies here. Much of it comes not only because of cutting, but also burning. Almost 30% of all the CO2 that goes up each year into the atmosphere comes from forest burning.
This is a time-lapse picture of the Earth at night over a 6-month period, showing the lights of the cities in white and the burning forests and brush fires in red. The yellow areas are the gas flares, like these in Siberia. And that brings me to the second factor that has transformed our relationship to the Earth. The scientific and technological revolution is a great blessing in that it has given us tremendous benefits in areas like medicine and communications. But this new power that we have also brings a responsibility to think about its consequences. Here's a formula to think about. Old habits plus old technology have predictable consequences. Old habits that are hard to change plus new technology can have dramatically altered consequences. Warfare with spears and bows and arrows and rifles and machine guns, that's one thing. But then a new technology came. We have to think differently about war because the new technologies so completely transform the consequences of that old habit that we can't just mindlessly continue the patterns of the past. In the same way, we have always exploited the Earth for sustenance. For most of our existence, we use relatively simple tools, the plow, the tractor, but even tools like shovels are different now. Shovel used to be this. Shovels have gotten bigger, and every year they get more powerful. So our ability to have an effect, in this case on the surface of the Earth, is utterly transformed. You can say the same thing about irrigation, which is a great thing. But when we divert rivers without considering the consequences, then sometimes rivers no longer reach the sea. There were 2 rivers in Central Asia that were used by the former Soviet Union for irrigating cotton fields unwisely. The Aral Sea was fed by them. It used to be the 4th largest inland sea in the world. When I went there, I saw this strange sight of an enormous fishing fleet resting in the sand. This is the canal that the fishing industry desperately tried to build to get to the receding shoreline. Making mistakes in our dealings with nature can have bigger consequences now because our technologies are often bigger than the human scale. When you put them all together, they've made us a force of nature. And this is also a political issue.
This is the computer map of the world that distorts to show the relative contributions to global warming. In our country, we are responsible for more than all of South America, all of Africa, all of the Middle East, all of Asia, all combined. The per capita average in Africa, India, China, Japan, EU, Russia, there's where we are. Way, way above everyone else. If you take population into account, it's a little bit different. China's